All right, we are solving by taking square roots today. You're going to learn a couple pretty slick moves to help you do these problems. So you've got the x squared equal to 400. The x is squared. You want to unsquare it. To do that, you got to solve by square roots. So we're going to bring in and take the square root of both sides. Can't just do one side in math class. What you do one side, got to do the other. So if we're taking square root here, we got to take it over there. All right, every time that you bring in a square root, you have to bring in plus or minus. So sitting right here will be this, plus or minus. There were no square roots. You brought them in. You have to bring in plus or minus. Big deal. Must remember this. All right, let's drop it in. So we have x squared. We have plus or minus square root of 400. Now this is awesome. This is one of the greatest math moves of all time. This is squared. This is the square root. The square root, squared maneuver, they cancel each other out. So this is awesome. The square root and the squared cancel each other out. This is just x equals 2. So this is great. Got rid of the square root, which is what we want to have happen. Then we just got to take square root of 400. That is 20. So you have x equals positive 20, x equals negative 20. And most people love to just write plus or minus 20. Here, we'll do another one real quick. Let's say we have x squared equals 121. So we walk up to the x, it's squared, we want to unsquare it. We bring in the square roots. You brought in the square roots, so you have to bring in plus or minus. There is plus or minus. Drop in your x squared, drop in your 121. This is spectacular. The square root and the squared cancel each other out. So you just have x equals 2, square root of 121, 11. So you got a positive 11, you got negative 11, you got two answers, plus or minus 11. Solving by square roots. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. So let's go x minus 10 squared equals 49. Okay, this time it's a group that's squared. So you want to unsquare this. So strategy's still the same. We're going to bring in square root of both sides. You brought in square root. You have to bring in plus or minus. Don't forget it. So here is x minus 10 squared plus or minus 49. Now this is awesome. The square root and the squared, these cancel each other out, and you are left with x minus 10, which is awesome. And now you have plus or minus square root of 49 is 7. Now you got some cleaning up to do. Grab this 10. We're going to get him over here. Oh, check it out. He was negative 10, but over here he becomes positive 10, plus or minus 7. Don't leave it like that. Sometimes people get a little lazy and just leave it plus or minus 7. Think about it this way. You've got x is equal to 10 plus 7, and you have x is equal to 10 minus 7. So you've actually got two parts, plus 7 minus 7. So x is going to equal 17. X is going to equal 3. And you got your two answers. All right, don't forget plus or minus. It's a big deal. All right, here we go. Number 4. Okay, now everything just keeps getting added to it. First it was real easy, there was hardly anything there. Now we got numbers to distribute, we got the 5 that's got to get with the 7. You got extra moves you got to make. Let's start with that 5. Let's put him over on the other side. Add that to the 7. And now we got 7 plus 5 is 12. All right, getting closer. You want whatever squared all by itself. There's still a 4 hanging around. So what we can do is we can just divide out the 4. Get those out of our way. And we get it down to that. The 12 divided by 4, that gives us the 3. All right, let's grab this one. X plus 1 squared equal to 3. So finally what was squared is now completely by itself. Bring in the square roots. And another reminder, you brought in square root, you bring in plus or minus. We love the square root squared maneuver. Put it in there. And this is what's great. The square root and the squared cancel each other out. And now we can get to our x. Oh, we're almost done. I've got some good news, bad news coming up for you. Grab that 1, shoot him to the other side. Positive 1 on this side becomes negative 1 on the other side. Okay, here's the good news, bad news portion of the problem. The bad news is this is a 1, a negative 1, just a number. That's a square root. A regular number like negative 1 and a square root cannot combine. They're not like terms. That's the bad news. Good news is that since you can't put them together, you're done with the problem. That's all you can do. So this is your final answer. All right, that was a pretty good problem. That's a pretty good one. All right, there is a trick question that they throw in. They try to get you with square roots. Let's say you have x squared is equal to, how about a negative 6? All right, here's the story. You try to work this problem, you see x squared, you're like, oh, I know how to do this. I'll bring in my square roots, solving by square roots, that's what I've been doing the whole time. This is my x squared, this is negative 6. But here's the story. You cannot take the square root of a negative number. This is not allowed yet. Although, guys, they're coming. You are not allowed to get a negative under the square root right now. So when we run into that today, you just stop right there and you say, whoa, negative underneath the square root. That's going to end up being the no solution. Our book likes that word extraneous. All right, so be on the lookout for that trick. They'll try to hide it from you too. Let me show you one. Here's one where they try to hide it from you. Make it look like a regular problem. Here's one, yeah. So like 19 x minus 1 squared equals negative 5. So you're going to solve this problem. You think, okay, here's what's squared. The 19's out in front. If they multiply by 19, I'll do the opposite. I'll divide by 19. So these cancel. So you're really kind of rolling along with this problem, and you're in pretty good shape. You got this squared. You can unsquare it. We can bring in the square roots. And then about right here is where you see it. Square root with a negative right there. So as soon as you see that, you can just stop where you are. You don't even have to finish the rest of the problem. You're like, nope. So negative underneath the square root with my x over here, that is going to be the old no solution. So you don't even have to finish that one. All right. And after you're on the lookout for that trick question, the other hard stuff they throw at you is they start one with fractions. So let's do one last one, and let's make it really hard by throwing in some fractions. So 1/5 x squared plus 6 is equal to 4/5 x squared. So you have these 5s on the bottom, and you do not want 5s on the bottom. There's a cool math move to say, okay, if they divided by 5, I'll multiply by 5 all the way across, and let's get rid of it. So all the way across, multiply by 5, multiply by 5, multiply by 5. This step looks pretty bad, but what it does, cancels out the 5 off the bottom. Cancels the 5 off the bottom. Just made your life a lot better. So now you have 1x squared plus 30 equal to 4x squared. So the problem did have fractions. You did this nasty step, and now it's no fractions, which is awesome. Here we go. Let's put those x squareds together. So the 1x squared, let's get it on this side, like terms together. If you have 4x squareds and you take away 1x squared, you have 3x squared. All right, divide by 3, divide by 3. Oh, now we're close. We have 10 equal to x squared. And when you get it to here, it's just like what we started with. Your x is squared. We bring in the square roots and unsquare it. You brought in square roots. You've got to bring in plus or minus. So here's your x squared, here's your 10. These cancel out. 10 doesn't even break down for us. We're feeling pretty good. X is equal to plus or minus 10. So today, solve by square roots. Don't forget plus or minus.